Hi, Vivek.
Hi, Sheba. It's good to see you.
It's lovely to see you, and thank you so
Yeah,
much for accepting to have a chat with me, a soul brew with me. Welcome to Coffee and Soul, and
thank you.
delighted to have you here.
Thank you. I'm cheating a little bit because a few years ago I made a few lifestyle changes and I decided I should stop drinking as much coffee as I did. So
Okay.
I now drink vast amounts of green tea, but that's what I've got in my
Oh,
cup.
that's
So just
fantastic. It's
yeah,
your favorite brew, and whatever that is, that works. That works
yeah.
for
No, I mean I love my coffees, but now it's a treat. I
you.
sort of allow myself a nice espresso after a good meal or something like that.
Sure,
But
sure.
yeah,
Lovely, lovely. So you have your cup of green tea with you?
I do.
Ready? Okay. So I'll just pour myself my coffee. Yes, I think all of my soul brews is not complete unless and until I have the sound of the coffee.
Absolutely. Yes, well, cheers.
Cheers. Here's to life.
Yes.
If I if the cup is not too hot, if
Yeah.
can I ask you to just nestle that between your palms
Yeah.
and just sit back?
That's pretty much what I do
What you
anyways.
do, okay, super.
Yeah.
So just carry on with what you do, and if you can just sit back, relax, and close
Yeah.
your eyes
Okay. Yeah.
with the cup in your hand, and see if there's anything that comes up for you. You can just close your eyes and relax a bit. Any sounds, flavors, sights, anything that comes up for you.
Yeah. Now I mean, I have to say I'm lucky because where I sit here, we've got the garden just outside the window here, and
Yeah.
I can sort of hear the birds and stuff like that, which is also a bit of aircraft noise, which is not quite as attractive, but it is rather nice when you sort of shut your eyes and then it's the bird sound which
Yeah,
sort of
yeah,
flows
yeah.
through.
That is wonderful, Vivek. I do see that there are a lot of instruments. Are we sitting in some kind of a studio? Is this something that?
This is my office. This is where I mean, now in sort of the lockdown world, this is where I spend my days.
Yes.
But yeah, a few years ago, I started a few years. I've been playing the guitar for since I was in college,
Right.
and my son is now a professional musician, and thanks to him, we ended up getting all this sort of super software on my computer and all this stuff.
Great. Yeah.
And I said, well, let me try my hand at songwriting. And I did. And I found, I don't know if I'm good at it. I mean, I certainly enjoy it thoroughly. So I started writing and then being able to record the songs on the same computer. So this is so now it's my office and a recording studio, if you like,
That's
but
fantastic. That is
it's
so
not,
amazing. Yes. Go ahead. Go
yeah.
ahead.
No, I was saying it's not soundproofed or anything. So when you hear my songs, actually, mostly it gets buried in the tracks. But if you listen just you'll hear sounds of the dogs barking in the background or someone saying, "Hey, are you ready for lunch?" or something like that.
That's
But
the
that's all there
principle.
in the mix.
I totally, I kind of resonate with that because that's the principle I use in Soul Brews as well, that I'm not going to cut out sounds of life or ambient
Yeah,
noise because it's
exactly.
part of the whole thing. So
It is. Yeah,
yeah. So I'd love to hear, I've listened to some of your songs actually on
yeah.
LinkedIn, and they're
Well, well,
very good.
yeah, well, if I have the chance to do a plug, I think it's 13 albums up on Spotify, and
Wow.
so if anyone wants to just listen to it, I mean, if you look, I mean, I'm under my own name,
Uh,
and
so just tell us about it. I'm sure people will plug in. So it's Vivek
well,
Govil.
just if you just go on to Spotify or YouTube Music or any of the major streaming channels, Apple Music, this thing, just look up Vivek Govil, and all my albums will come up, and yeah, and you sort of see a little bit of a musical journey because in the first few ones was just a guitar, and the first album is just a guitar and vocals.
Hmm.
And then over time, as I've got more comfortable with the software and with all this stuff, it gets a little bit more well complex, I suppose would be the thing. The songs themselves are just whatever comes into my head at the time, and I'm fortunate. I tend to sort of churn them out maybe one every couple of weeks or 3 weeks or something is I think roughly my average. Yeah, it's just, I mean, over lockdown, it slowed down a little bit because I think there's less external experience to be able to write about, because so there are fewer ideas that pop because you're working in a smaller environment.
Correct.
But that's what all these.
Well, that's amazing. I never knew this. When we were connected and talking to each other about 10 years ago. That's what we just realized.
That was about it. Yes.
When you were in India and you were heading Pearson at that time, right?
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
I was.
Yeah. And we'd spent some time together. And I had no idea. You did talk about music, but I had no idea that this was such a. I mean, it would turn into this. Well, did you know it? Did you know that?
No, not at all. I mean, I used to play other people's songs because the sort of usual stuff that you do, and mostly at drunken parties and stuff like that. But no, this is something that I only started doing about 3 or 4 years ago.
So what was the trigger?
The trigger was actually just the fact that that I had the opportunity was there because I had the software and I had the equipment to be able to record myself.
Right.
And so I didn't have an excuse not to do it.
Right.
That was it, because otherwise, I mean, I'm sure there are a million songwriters out there, but quite often, if you don't have a way to put it all together, then it's a talent that doesn't get expressed. So I just had the opportunity and I took it. So that was.
That's wonderful. Following your passion in this manner and being so creative about it. Just taking it forward. I think that is amazing. You continue to do your day job, right, Vivek?
I continue to do my day job. I left. So from the time we worked together, I then moved with Pearson to the UK. I was actually I was a trailing spouse. My wife got a very cool job in the UK, and I said, okay, I'll come along and see what happens. Pearson were great. They found me some really nice roles, but then I left Pearson in June 2019, so a couple of years ago now. And started a little company. I thought I'd do some consulting work and all that, but I started consulting with Oxford University Press, and then got offered a role as an interim managing director for one of their businesses. And then when that finished, I thought I'd go off and do I think still think it would have been a rather cool startup, not quite a startup, a scale-up opportunity to work with a friend who had a small business, which we thought we could build into something significant. But then OUP offered me the role of managing director for their UK business. And that was just too good an offer to turn down. So it's a great company. It's if you're running the UK operations, you're really at the heart of what Oxford University Press does, and it's a wonderful set of people. It's an interesting market. So so I've been in this role for about actually just over a year now. I started there on the 1st of June last year, and and no regrets at all. I mean.
Lovely. I mean, this is like a dream, isn't it? You've got the job that you actually seem to really love doing, and you're able to follow your passion the way that you are. I think you're blessed.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I'm really grateful for what life has sort of offered me. It's been a fabulous journey. I mean, I think I've really enjoyed every step of my career and made lots of really good friends whom I still hold close after all these years. And what I'm doing now is, I'm doing what I love doing. I'm doing what I think I'm pretty good at.
Yes.
We live in this, I mean, and just in terms of life, I mean, we live in this little quiet corner, semi-rural kind of place. So you step out and there are cows in the field and
beautiful.
Stuff. And so it's good to, I mean, there's the pressure of work, but there's all this, there's the music, but there's also the environment to be able to just de-stress and
Sure. Yeah, yeah, that's fabulous. Vivek, tell me if you can take me through some of your key points in life, and you already are exploring it, but some of your defining moments, like some highs, some lows. How has been your journey? What would you say about
Ooh, what are the key points? I mean, I suppose I've been so I so maybe if I describe the journey and then I can
it?
sort
Yeah,
of drop in
yeah. Well,
points as we go
however,
along. So, I mean, I mean, I've had a pretty checkered career actually. I mean, I started off after I finished from the Institute of Management. I started off in advertising and I was with Lintas for some years. Loved that. Worked on brands. I'm not terribly sure that I was the first brand I ever worked on was one which was a highly controversial one. It was Fair and Lovely,
right?
and sort of starting, with and but that was sort of my introduction to the big bad world of
Sure.
business, if you like, and
And Fair and Lovely at that time was not a controversial brand.
Oh, it was a. I mean, I think if you thought about it, it had its challenges, and we did some really cool work with where we figured that. So this might be going completely off piste,
No, no, please go ahead. Yeah.
but actually the whole thing about fairness was we realized that what most people want is not, they don't aspire. No one aspires in India. No one aspires to a Caucasian fairness. No one wants that. What they want is what they want is actually sort of the skin that they were born with. So if you came from a community where you were slightly more dark skinned, your ideal skin tone was quite different from what the ideal skin tone for a community from a slightly fairer community might be. And so we tried convincing leaders to say that that we should just change the whole approach to saying it's not about being fair, it's about getting back the skin that you were born with.
Right.
And it actually went all the way up to the Hindustan Lever Board.
Wow.
But I think then it was just such a big brand, and they were terrified at the time to make the change. I know that they're making some of the changes now, and it's 30 years too late maybe, but at least they're making it. But anyway, then from Lintas I went off and joined Gillette, and I think that was they were a client of mine, and they asked me if I'd come in to join their marketing team, and I did. I loved it. I spent 17 years with them. I got to work on. I mean, it was sort of a tiny little company when we started, and by the time I left, it was a sort of behemoth in India, and got to work on. At the time, we had writing instruments was part of our portfolio. So I was lucky enough to launch Parker pens in India.
Okay.
And so I went off and spent a few months in their factory in New Haven to learn how nibs are made and what makes pens special and things like that. And got to then work with Gillette. We had a joint venture with Luxor, which is sort of a small family-run business. I'd say that was one of the biggest learning experiences of my life, because there were three of us from Gillette who were parachuted into a company of 1,200, which was run very much as an owner-driven company. And it was a 50-50 joint venture. And we could never say that you need to do this because this is how Gillette does it. You had to take people along with you. You had to convince them of why this was the right way to do it. Incredibly stressful, but a massive learning opportunity. Anyway, I spent a bunch of time with Gillette. In between, I went off and became a headhunter for a year because I wanted to just be. I just wanted to try something different. So I did that, but realized that wasn't for me. Went back to Gillette, and then the second big turning point was, I think, I then got an offer from the Oberoi. Well, Gillette had got acquired, and I didn't want to be part of the acquired company. I joined the Oberoi group as their executive vice president for sales.
Right.
And it was crazy. I mean, I knew hotels as a customer. And and my sales and marketing experience largely had operated with very small teams who were all under my, under my nose.
Sure.
And suddenly I found myself running sales for this, giant company which had hotels all over the world. And I was having to sort of, travel to conferences in Las Vegas to convince the top American travel agents as to why they should use the hotels and stuff.
Right.
It was, and it was the first time that I'd actually managed anything of serious scale in terms of a team and in terms of a business. And just realizing that, I can do this as well, and it gives you this sort of confidence that you can then go on to do different things and at bigger scale than you have before. Then Pearson was, I suppose, the last big moment, because it was a shift into education. And I think
how was that transition for you, shifting into education? Interesting, very interesting, Vivek. Yeah.
Again, it was fabulous because it's such a and many of the same things I would say about OUP here, but I mean the thing is that firstly, it is so fabulous to actually work in an industry where you know that you are doing good by what you do. So being in a mission-driven environment is, you can be mission-driven when you're in Gillette, but the mission was to sell razor blades. Now which is a slightly different order of type of mission. So one, I think just what you were doing is really motivates. And secondly, it's it was a period of India at the time was just opportunity was everywhere. This is I'm going back to 2008, I think is when
that's right. Yeah.
And there were so we went from being pretty much a company which reprinted American textbooks and sold them to you to building a whole sort of education services business and making it more digital, making it more we were growing at I want to say something like about 30% a year off a small base, a tiny base, but that was the time where you and I got to meet and work together.
Yes.
But it was so again, both for sort of discovering a space in which I could, which I loved, and secondly, it was my first time as a chief executive, and again, I loved the breadth of what you end up doing and the fact that you bounce from talking about the detail of how you can make a better educational product to suddenly talking about we've outgrown our warehouse and we're looking for new warehouse space. And so it was that was tremendous. And then I'd say from there on it's been a little bit of it's been continuity more than change. The current OUP role is fascinating because I have never actually worked, even though I've lived in the UK for the last decade. I was always in international roles. So I was, this is the first time that I was getting deeply into the UK market. And it feels, it is, for me as particularly coming from India and coming to what is no longer a new country, but still a country that you don't necessarily know everything in its detail. Getting to really understand the UK education system and the challenges that teachers and students face, and it's a business, but it's also a fabulous opportunity to learn about the community and the culture and all of that. And along the way, I also managed to become a non-executive director of NHS mental health trust.
Really? So, oh, wow. That's interesting.
It's the mental health trust for Surrey. And so we deliver all the mental health services, often through partners and but we deliver the mental health services across the area. And that's another area where you really get to understand a part of the community that is sort of invisible. You know, when certainly I come from a position of, I mean, I've lived a very privileged and easy life. And even though I've had a bout with depression many years ago, but luckily I was able to sort of deal with it and move on. But then when you start, when you realize that it's, for a lot of people, it's not that easy to move on. And it is, a lot of the issues which people face are much more sort of serious than what I did. So it's I know I'm speaking selfishly about my learning, but I mean, but just both of these have given me such an opportunity to actually understand the country I'm in, and realize actually how little I actually knew in many ways of India at the time. I think I've come to understand India better because of my experience here. Because, excuse me, again in India, I think I led a life of privilege. I had great paying jobs. I came from a stable family. And of course that there is a massive underprivileged population in India, but you can live in India without really seeing it. And in fact, it's almost a defense mechanism that to lead a happy life of privilege in India, you have to almost learn to ignore all of the rest of it. Which I'm not ashamed, but I mean, I'm a little ashamed to say that I didn't actually sort of see any of it when I was there. I just lived in my bubble and was happy and successful in my bubble. Now seeing it in the UK and then applying the same learning to India, now now I think I understand it a lot better.
Yeah. Now, you're reflecting on something that's really, really important, Vivek. And it's so true. What you say is we live a life of privilege and we just don't see it. I mean, we see it every day, but we've learned to completely whitewash it,
Exactly.
It just blends into the background. We don't think about it. I think one of the things that happened during the COVID phase is that we were forced to see it.
This is true. I think it really brought it home to everyone. I think demonetization first, where you realized how it affected different people, this thing, and then COVID to a much greater extent, you realize this.
Yeah, and you talked to me about and you mentioned it almost in passing, but thank you so much for talking about mental health, talking about your own dealing with it, and because this conversation today is so important. And there's so many people who are now bringing it to the forefront, so people feel easy about talking about it. Was it very hard when you went through it for you to get out of it, Vivek, or did you have to? Was it? And if you're comfortable to talk about it.
No, I'm happy. We're more than happy to talk about it. Yes, it was hard. I mean, in my case, it was just this. I've written songs about it, which I can share with you. But
well, you sing us a song. Yeah.
No way.
All right.
No, but that it was hard because it's something that it's even when you're going through it, it's when you have when there's something physically wrong with you, it's much easier to talk about it. There's sort of people understand how to deal with it, how to treat it, this thing. And often, I mean, of course, there are chronic illnesses, but often there are cures which work much faster. With mental health, you never quite. I mean, yes, there are lots of things that can help you, and I was lucky that I think I understood what I was going through early. I went and met a psychiatrist early. We had a few sessions. I took some medication. I was prescribed some medication, which really helped me sort of fight it. Actually, I mean, in my case, like I said, I mean, I'm really lucky because in my case, I even though the psychiatrist said you should continue with it, I didn't want to be. I thought I was being able to cope, and so I stopped the medication, and I was fine. And I've never looked back. I mean, even now, every once in a while, I can, you can feel this sort of, you can feel this thing lurking in the background, but I know how to deal with it now, and I know how to this thing. So it's never been really, it was sort of something that was a serious problem for me for about 3 or 4 months, and not much more than that. So I
Fabulous.
am.
And you are blessed, really, and to be able to have dealt with it. But that gives people who are going through it so much more strength to say you can get out of it. And
Yeah.
it's like a shadow that lives there, but you can always work with it. And
Yeah.
I think that itself is, it's like our shadow never goes away, does it?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
you kind of embrace it and maybe keep moving. Yeah. Would I
yeah.
be right in saying that, Vivek?
Well, I don't know if with this particular shadow, if I embrace it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not. I mean, but I know how to. I know how to. I know how to keep it, push
Push
it
it away.
away, and keep it this thing.
Totally.
And so yeah, so it doesn't. And it's. I mean, if I'm suggesting that it's always lurking, it's not. It's just
I
that
understand.
at times when things are not going,
Yeah.
exactly the way you want, you can see it sort of
I
hanging around
totally.
saying, hey,
Yeah.
I'm here, and you say, no, get the hell out of my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. I totally understand. Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
totally understand. You don't leave your hand on the stove longer than it's
exactly.
necessary.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 So now you are in the UK and have been there for how long?
Just over a decade, actually. It was early 2011 that we moved here.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And
so is there, Vivek, is there, when the chips are down and when you are, is there a metaphor for life? Is there something, an adage or something you live by, or do you just pick up your guitar and strum your way out of it? I mean, what is it that you feel you fall back on?
so I don't know. I mean, this is a bit. This may sound a little trite, but there's a line I read in a letter which Woody Guthrie, the American folk
Yeah.
musician, he'd written a letter to someone. Which there's a fabulous thing on all the social media called Letters of Note, where they publish great letters from people. And I saw this letter from Woody Guthrie on there, where he says, at the end of his letter, he says, "Take it easy, but take it." And I don't know. In many ways, that sort of for me, I'm not. I've done well, but I don't aspire to be a millionaire or a billionaire or anything of that sort. I aspire to do good work with nice people, and that keeps me happy. And there are so many opportunities that, like, I mean take this take this I mean this chat. When you first asked me, I was really sort of nervous about it because I've never done one of these. And but you say, what the heck? I mean, I mean, what's the
What
downside?
could
What's the
possibly,
downside to
yes,
this? Exactly.
exactly,
So
exactly.
so let's so take it,
Yeah,
but you can take life's opportunities and take it easy at the same time. And I think you can be successful while being a nice person and a good person. And I don't know what your rules on this call are about using this thing, but I think there are too many people who think that in order to be successful, you have to be an asshole.
no, there are no
And
rules. No
yeah,
rules. You
okay,
can say whatever
okay,
you want. Yeah.
yeah. But I see so much of that out there, and you don't need to be an asshole to be successful. You
Absolutely.
can do it by being a good person, by being a nice person. And yeah, and maybe you need to be, maybe some assholes get more successful depending on how you define success, but that it's not my definition.
Absolutely. That is so powerful, what you just said. Would this be something that you would tell um, people that who are just starting out, or a younger Vivek,
Oh, yeah.
or is that a message? Because I think that's very powerful. So many people are hearing that you have to be a particular way in order to succeed, and I think what you're saying is so different.
Yeah.
And so, is that something that could be?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to sort of hold myself up as a role model or
Of
something like that.
course.
But
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's important that you are clear as to what it is that you want out of life. Because I mean, I do find, for example, there's so many really bright young kids whom you see, and they could change the world. They could do amazing things. And then when you and you know, and they will study the most interesting topics and the thing, and then go off and become investment bankers. And I'm going to get into trouble with this because I have a lot of friends whose kids went down that route. But you know, I mean, for God's sake, I mean, there is so much you can do, I think that there's a financialized world and there's a real world, and the two are drifting further and further apart in many ways. And if you are bright and motivated and this thing, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm coming at this in a weird way. I do find that investment banking and there are some other professions that which do tend to put a premium on being a certain personality type. Mm-hmm. And I think if you want to go down that route, you have to conform in order to succeed. Mm. And I guess what I would say to anyone, and I do say to anyone if I get the chance to say it without criticizing their choices, or without hurting them as I criticize their choices. I mean, I do think that you can choose careers which will give you much more satisfaction. They may not pay you quite as much, and you may not find yourself in a tuxedo up on at the Met Gala and doing that kind of stuff. But it's all right. I mean, there's But when you're a kid, I mean, I think most people have to find it out for themselves.
Exactly.
So I mean, I'm because I know when I was younger, I was much more. I also believed that you had not that you had to be an asshole, but that success looked like that. It was the size of your bank balance which defined you. Actually, one of the times when I really learned about this was that year when I was a headhunter. This was 2001, and I joined Corn Ferry. And 2001 was, we just come off the .com crisis and stuff like that. So there was quite a lot of turmoil. It was a terrible time to be a headhunter because no one was hiring. But what I did find was that I would find a whole lot of people who would come to me, and they had been let go by their company, and they weren't able to tell they hadn't yet told their family, they hadn't told their friends. They would come to me as if I was sort of a counselor to help them understand this, and I would play the part that I needed to play at the time. But it was such a shocking thing that all these enormously successful people who I would have aspired to be like, actually that their entire self-image was wrapped up in their business card and who they were, and they couldn't even communicate with their family and friends about because they felt that their family and friends would think less of them because they weren't in that job. And again, maybe the world has moved on because now everyone's got more used to being made redundant, being this thing, and so it's become more acceptable. But yeah, I don't think I'd ever want to be only define myself by my business card.
Yeah, work is equal to identity for so many people, right? And the trappings that go with it is all part of that. Yeah, absolutely right. And so alternatives, looking at different ways of being. I think although you say you're not role modeling it, in a way you are, no? Vivek, which is fantastic because I think somewhere it's very important for the younger ones to see alternate success, what they define as success, as whatever, that happiness also has a part to play in this, because people are just on this wheel that they don't get off, and actually are so unhappy, but they don't.
I have a lot of friends. I mean, again, just on the role model front, I mean, I think I have a lot of friends now who have sort of given up their corporate careers and are actually spending much more time doing giving back as this thing. But, and I think that is absolutely fabulous, because I mean I'm still working in a corporate career. I mean I may be doing it in the space of education, but I'm still doing it for a paycheck partly.
Sure.
But I mean I do think that, I mean, if I look at, there's some people who've figured, okay, I've achieved what I thought was success, and then spend the rest of their lives traveling the world and running up their carbon footprint and being, I mean, really happy lives, but a very self-indulgent life.
Right.
And you have the other people who say, okay, I've achieved success, and now I'm going to actually do something for people who weren't as fortunate as me. And that latter group, I think, is the one I would look up to for sure.
Sure.
That I do look up to.
Yeah. So, Vivek, what would you say have been the key influencers in your life? It could be people or things, people, instances, people you remember.
I don't know. I mean, I mean, there is also always obviously the usual starting points of family and parents who gave you a grounding. I think I'm lucky to have had a circle of family and friends who one share the same values as I do, and who help to keep me real, because again, one of the things that can happen as you go along is when you're really successful and you start believing how successful you are, you need someone who's going to keep you grounded. Luckily my wife and my kids and my friends are really good at that. So there's no chance to get a sort of too big a head on this thing. But I think that's. But no, I don't. Otherwise, I mean, I'm not sure that I have particularly specific mentors or this thing. I read a lot. I follow a lot of interesting people on. I know Twitter is a dangerous territory, but I use Twitter to follow people who, I follow a bunch of poets and artists and thinkers on there, and so there's a lot of influences which are which are presumably shaping my my life. But no, I mean. I don't know that I would have. I mean, beyond, like I said, the that circle of family and friends. I don't know that I have anything particularly unique to offer in that space.
Yeah. No, I understand that, and that itself is unique, isn't it? You're unique. I believe each individual has something unique to share, even though you say that may not have. But there is something that you bring, that, and with your own particular flavor, that perhaps no one else can. And what do you think that is? What do you think you bring as a gift to the people and to life, to human beings?
Wow, I thought that question was going to end in a work type thing. So I was thinking on those. What do I bring to people in life? I don't know. I hope I bring. I mean, I think if it's one of those things, isn't it? I mean, if when you enter a room, people smile. I think then you're good. And I don't know that I always do it. I mean, but I think I'd like to believe that I bring a slightly calm, happy aura along with me, which makes people feel comfortable and relaxed, and and then just be themselves, or be good work colleagues, or be good friends. And it's not a particularly insightful.
It's no, I have to say that, it sounds, and exactly what I wanted to say to you is that it does. Don't underestimate what you just said, because it is perhaps one of the most important things, is for giving a space by your being to another to be themselves. It's not easy, and it's not often what people find that they run into. So a space where people can breathe and be is a very big thing. So if you bring that, I think, and I'm sure a lot of people will agree. I know that is a quality you have, Vivek, and I'm sure a lot of people will agree with
well,
that.
thank you. I will take it as a compliment.
Yes, please do.
Thank you. Yes, yeah.
Please do. Please do. Also, tell me, what do conversations like this? What's the value that it brings? Does it kind of?
I mean, I think for me, it's an opportunity to reflect on, reflect on how I got here and what I do here now that I'm here. A lot of the times, I mean, I know that if we'd had the same conversation, say 15 years ago, I may have given some of the same answers, but I think they would have been a little bit more trite. It's like when you're playing table tennis, you just the ball comes and instinctively you sort of knock it back over the net. But I think now it's probably happening a little bit more in its sort of slow motion table tennis, because I'm thinking about it much more, and I'm being able to sort of think about how I played that shot. So it's I think it's an opportunity for self-reflection, and that's certainly the value I'm getting out of it. Coming into this, I had no idea what we were going to talk about, so I didn't come with any expectations.
Oh, thank you so much for trusting me with this and just walking into this conversation. I really respect that and value that. Is there anything else you'd like to say, Vivek, before anything else?
Oh,
it's your forum.
It's my forum. Wow. No, I think we've actually, I mean, in terms of describing, who I am and what I believe in, and this thing, I think we've sort of covered. We've covered most of. I mean, actually, in much both width and depth, much greater width and depth than I thought we would have in sort of 40 minutes. So no, I don't have any great pearls of wisdom or anything to say, but I mean, no, but thank you for the conversation. I really enjoyed that.
Well, that's the whole idea, is to have a conversation, and just a conversation, and see what emerges from this. So thank you so much for making the time for this, Vivek. It's been great to catch up with you again and to see, the journey.
No, likewise. Thanks very much, Sheba. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was very nice. Thank you very much. And all the very best, particularly with the music. Whoever's listening in, guys, go and have a listen to all the albums Vivek's got out. And I can vouch for it. There's some great songs out there, and enjoy them. And thank you so much, Vivek, once again, for your time and all the best.
Thanks, Sheba. Thanks, Sheba. That was great.
Thank you.